Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of I Am Essence, where we share tips and feature incredible guests helping us to transform and align with our best selves. Today we have guest Emily Miotto, theta healing practitioner, instructor, life coach, quantum healer, psychic reader, just to name a few, but also my mentor and beautiful friend of mine on I Am Essence today. So before Emily discovered theta healing, she was stuck in the good girl belief, pretty much as something she liked to call a people pleaser, always saying yes to what everyone else wanted from her, ignoring her intuitive messages from her soul. She knew there was something so much more out there to explore. She became captive to her beliefs and felt as if she was hopeless to change. Listen along on today's episode as Emily shares her story and how we as people get stuck in a similar mindset. It's time we uncover these beliefs, break them down, and reprogram our subconscious so we can truly become the best version of ourselves possible. Well, Emily, welcome back to I Am Essence. I am so excited to have you on once again. You have become such a beautiful friend and mentor in my life, and I am just so thankful that our paths have crossed. So it is Leo season. It's probably going to be Virgo season by the time this episode comes out. But how is your Leo season treating you?
I gotta say, there is a lot of changes for me around money in my relationship with money, actually. So it's very interesting. The Lionsgate portal was, I think it was like last week or the week before.
Yes.
I don't remember. Time is just an illusion at this point.
I feel that.
But yeah, definitely feeling a lot of changes happening, a lot more of that masculine energy coming out this month to get things done, to make again, massive changes both in my business and my personal life. And so it's treating me really well.
Yes. Oh, I love hearing that. That's so funny that you brought up the masculine energy because right on, this is going to sound so weird, but on the one side of my face, which is the right side, masculine side, my face has been breaking out a little bit more. And it's funny you say that because I have been focusing a lot more on the business and staying more in my masculine side. So it's funny how different types of stress or your intention will manifest physically on or into the body. So I guess with that being said, let's dive right into today's topic, today's episode. And how did you ever see yourself in this field of work helping others manifest and just kind of break down their own personal limiting beliefs?
No, I really didn't. I had no idea that my life was going to turn out in this way at all. I went to school for food nutrition and I was like, I'm going to be a nutritionist and I'm going to work in hospitals. That was my path.
Really?
And, yeah. And physical dis-ease for me really took me out of that place of I'm doing all those things that the Western regular food nutrition program is telling me to do. My digestion is still off. And so I actually, when I first went to a naturopath, she introduced me to the book, Black is the New Light. I think that's what it's called.
Okay.
And I read the book and it was if the way I could see it right now is Wizard of Oz, how they had the big curtain and you don't know what's behind the curtain. That curtain was just ripped off. And I said, oh my gosh, what is spirituality? What is out there? And I just went down the rabbit hole. And then ever since then, I've just been following the breadcrumbs of in theta healing, as you know, it's called creator. It could be source energy, universe, wherever creator kind of guided me to go. And then I wake up and I'm here and I'm an instructor now and I have my membership and alchemy coaching. And I'm like, I don't know how I got here.
I love it. And just being able to see your journey unfold within the last year has been incredible and just so inspiring. And it really pushes me to advance my own career and just keep that passion ignited and doing the things from my heart, not just for money. And I think when we are in this field of work, we have to stay true to ourselves and listen to our intuition because that's going to guide us, not the money.
I always, when I go day to day, I'm always thinking, okay, I'm not doing enough or I'm not where I want to be.
Mhm.
But then I look back at what's happened over the past year and I'm like, how did I even do all this? I honestly have no idea. So yeah, it's definitely been soul led rather than
Mhm.
money led.
Yes.
Every time I've tried to follow that path of, okay, I know this is going to make me money, it never has. And every time
Yeah.
my soul's saying, and I get the message of do
Mhm.
this and it feels good, then it's just effortless for the money to flow. And I'm like, how did this happen?
It's like, how did I get here?
Yeah.
Exactly. And I experienced the exact same thing with building Sono Essence. And it's hard at first because you want to be able to be in that social norm, but at the end of the day, you have to do what you're being guided to do because that's going to lead you in the right direction. So why do you think it's so powerful that people should be aware of their own intuition?
Oh, I love this question because I'm going to do my best to channel this.
Just go for it. Go for it.
So we're in this age right now of Aquarius and we're overloaded with information. And yes, it's an amazing thing that we have access to so much information, more than we maybe ever have before. However, all that information is also taking us very, very far away from our own intuition because we see what other people are doing and we're like, okay, that's the way to do something. Or we're told if you want to get your dream body, you got to do A, B, C, D, and E, right? And if you don't, it's not going to
Mhm.
happen. So we're flooded with all this information that everybody is a unique expression of the universe. So we are all going to have our own unique experience of how we show up and what works for us. And as you and I know of working together and talking about the subconscious mind, we all have our own limiting beliefs that are preventing us from getting our dream life.
Yeah.
So if we continue to listen to everyone else's information of what worked for them, well, they may not have those limiting beliefs that we do. So it's never going to work. And then we get further and further and further away from our intuition because we mix up our intuition and what we feel we want, what we feel our ego wants. So coming back to your intuition really allows you to create your life the way you want, right? To consciously create rather than reacting to what everyone else is living through and trying to mimic that.
So going back to the subconscious mind, how do you work with clients to help them reprogram and break down their limiting beliefs?
So I do this through a technique called theta healing, and it's where you alter your brainwave states to the theta brainwave state. And this is a meditative state, it allows you to recall memories, to recode information, and also connects you to your own divine, your intuition, source energy. And through doing a process called digging work, we locate where in your subconscious mind you're holding on to these core beliefs. And we just simply pull them out through witnessing, through intention, and then reprogram them with the belief that you actually want. But until you find out how a certain belief is serving you, you can't let it go, right? Because all your subconscious mind's trying to do is keep you safe. So through this technique, we allow you to feel safe in that new reality without holding on to all those fears.
Right. So does stress externally play a part in how our body stores those limiting beliefs?
For sure. Yeah. So whenever we are under stress, our body also goes into our fight or flight,
Mhm.
right? And it becomes so quote unquote normalized to
Yeah,
be in a stressful state, but really it's our body's being in that fight or flight mode
exactly.
24/7. And so what happens is that we actually continue to or our subconscious mind continues to categorize everything that's happening in our regular day-to-day life as a threat,
Mhm.
right? I got to take her out of this position. I got to take her out of this position. So we actually, our comfort zone gets smaller and smaller and smaller without us even realizing it. But our stress levels go higher and higher and higher because we need to do more because our soul's asking us to expand. So there's a lot of resistance that comes in and it creates more of these layers of limiting beliefs. The way I see it is like a tree. right? We have all the leaves, which are the extensions of limiting beliefs, the extra layers, but we got to come back down to the core, right? That first belief that was created that everything else kind of piles on top of. And so when we have stress, we're just adding more and more layers. And it becomes a little bit more challenging to find that core belief that is preventing us from living the life that we want.
So how does stress energetically, or even just trauma, whether it be something that we experience at a very early age in life or something that we experience in our 20s, 30s, 40s, how does that energetically of that stress manifest into some sort of physical dis-ease?
So when we think of the energy in our body, we always think about like the chakras. It's now the new trending word is chakras, right?
It is.
But they're pretty much just energy centers in our body, and we have hundreds of them, but the primary 7 ones are connected to different organs in our body. When we dip into this fight or flight mode with either stress or trauma, what happens is that there is a certain thought that comes in as well as a certain emotion. It's the emotions that get trapped in different parts of our body until we are ready to process it, right? So our bodies are this beautiful machine that says, don't worry about it. If you can't do it yet, if you can't process and come face to face with the guilt, the fear, the sadness, the grief, whatever it is, I'll hold on to it until you are ready. However, what happens is that usually we don't end up becoming ready. So every time that we are now going through our day-to-day life and we have that same emotion kick in, so let's use the emotion of guilt, right? Say there was this huge traumatic experience and the emotion that you felt was guilt. And the belief that you create around it was, I'm not worthy of love, right? Every time moving forward that you have that same feeling, it doesn't have to be the same degree, but every time you have that same feeling, you create a loop that has that same thought, that has that same belief, that has that same physical experience. So what happens is that you then end up literally time traveling. Your body goes back to that first experience you ever had. And what happens is that, again, if you don't process it, because we're not trained to just, as soon as we feel something, okay, feel it, analyze it, why is this here, and release it, especially in our day-to-day lives when we're so busy, right? We just push it away. But what's happened is we're pushing it down. So more and more layers of it build up in our cells, tissues, and organs until our body can no longer handle that amount of heaviness, that amount of stagnant energy, right? It's almost like putting mud in a bucket. Eventually, when you're holding that pail, it's going to break. Right?
Exactly. It's going to get too heavy.
And your cells end up responding to new messages that you're sending it of, I am guilty, I am guilty, I am guilty, I am guilty. So they believe it because your cells are just responding to whatever your thoughts are.
Exactly.
And so what happens is that then eventually over time, your body is going to physically show what you are thinking. And so with guilt, it usually appears in your sacral chakra, so around your lower abdomen. So I see for a lot of my clients, they maybe have a lot of weight held there. They maybe have a lot of digestive issues or reproductive issues. And so then I know a clear sign, they have some sort of belief that is blocking them around feeling worthy, around shame, around guilt, around blame. And so by working on that energy and releasing it, now you can have a clear path of new information, new thoughts coming forward to your cells to change them on a genetic level.
So if someone is experiencing, let's say, a hormonal imbalance or some sort of physical disease, how can they start to work through their emotions to release them in order to get the body in a healthy state?
What I really like to do, I do this on myself too, is first identify what your belief is, because so often it's happening unconsciously. What we are thinking about ourselves, what we are believing is possible for us. So when you can identify the limiting belief, that's your first step. Then identify how you feel every time that belief is triggered. So if there's a hormonal imbalance and usually appears on the skin, it has to deal with feeling beautiful. Right? So if there was a belief saying, I am ugly, okay, when you think about that, how does that feel? So identify the limiting belief and then identify the emotion. Now, in order to reprogram it, you just either one, theta healing, love it. I gotta say that.
It's life-changing.
But on a more conscious level, so you have the belief, you have the feeling. So now every time moving forward, you feel that, again, it doesn't have to be the same degree, become aware of it and actually take time out of your day to sit with that and ask yourself, okay, this is how I'm feeling. Let me send myself love now. Let me change how I feel about that. Let me actually process it. So I actually do this every day, and every time I feel triggered on something, I'll stop whatever I'm doing. I say, okay, I'm going to go lie down. I'll put my hand on my heart, and I'll put my hand on my sacral chakra, and I will just feel whatever that emotion is. And then I will create the feelings of gratitude and appreciation with a new belief. So in that moment, you are reprogramming your mind to say, okay, I don't have to feel this way. It's also called a pattern interrupt, right? So you're not allowing yourself to time travel back to that first experience. You're now creating new patterns of, I don't actually have to feel this way. I can now feel a new way.
It's so funny you bring up the skin and feeling beautiful, because I remember, this is going back years ago when I was going through my own acne healing journey. The more I continuously said and looked in the mirror and said that my skin is breaking out, it's getting worse, I would wake up that next day with more acne on my face, or I would go from 9 a.m, the whole day, by 9 o'clock at night, somehow more acne would be on my face. And your thoughts really do create your reality. And it's unbelievable how powerful you are. So if you can manifest negative things, why not be able to do the exact same thing for yourself in a positive way?
Mm-hmm. And I find one of the most challenging parts about that is that because we see what we have created that we don't want, we focus all of our energy on what we've already created. So we say, okay, well, I'm not abundant because I don't have money, or I'm not beautiful because I look at all the marks on my face.
Exactly.
Right? But it's really and I love to do this by doing a quantum meditation, which you've experienced as well, right? You're creating that new vision. Or if you have something about your physical appearance, don't look at it. Don't entertain it, because then you're going to continue to remind yourself, I'm not where I want to be at. Right? So our physical senses that help us in this physical plane actually limit us when we are wanting to create from an energetic space.
It's so true how powerful you are. And that's another great thing that you just brought up. Don't look at yourself, whether it be in the mirror, if you are on that healing journey. Because even, again, going back into my own experience when I was healing Epstein-Barr, one of the things that I experienced was weight gain just out of nowhere. And I went from clothes fitting to that next week could not get shorts over my hips because it ended up being in the summer. And once I was in that healing journey for a while, I wouldn't look at myself in the mirror because I wanted to make sure I was in a state of healing. And at the time or even before that, I was in the bodybuilding industry. I was working with a coach, getting ready for all of my my bikini competitions. And I was used to having to take pictures of myself, sending them to my coach. So I was always in that routine of, this is what I have to do. But then once my whole foundation kind of got rocked, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to focus on myself, my mental health. And the more I did that, my reality did start to shift. And that just goes to show that we truly are so powerful. It's just that we have to be in tune with our bodies in order to really heal.
And I find that's one of the things that we've actually come away from, is that tuning into our body, the intuition, like you said, right? When there's something that comes up, whether it's on, like the other day, my right ankle hurt. So automatically I was like, okay, ankle deals with my root chakra, right side deals with my masculine energy. What am I fearing about moving forward in my life, right? And then just simply by doing that, I'm able to then, okay, let's go into the beliefs. Let's go into what energy I'm holding. Let's ask me if I can release it, if it's no longer serving me. And the next day I woke up and it was gone, right? Whereas some people could sit in that energy of my leg hurts, my leg hurts, my leg hurts, my leg hurts. So then your cells are receiving that from your brain. It's like, okay, guys, I guess we're going to hurt.
And that's going to continue to hold you back. Exactly. And I love how you just said that. And so, how would you explain that to someone where instead of just sitting in that, I would say, I guess that lack or setback mindset. So how would you describe that to them and say, hey, there is more, there is a deeper explanation? How do you encourage someone to look past that?
That's a good question. The first thing that came to mind was they have to be willing to look for something else.
Yes.
So I've noticed that, and thankfully it is changing, but at least a couple of years ago when I started, people would come to me for more energy work when it was their last resort.
Really?
Right? When they've exhausted all the normal or Western techniques and it just hasn't worked.
Yes.
Then, okay, now I got to go into something new. And again, thankfully it's changing, and energy healing and natural remedies are getting more popular. So a lot more people are open to it.
Yeah.
So I'd honestly just say, like, are you open to a new perspective? Are you open to seeing how it's serving you? And by even just asking them that question, a lot of the times people may not ever answer you, but they're going to go home and they're going to think about
They're
it.
going to research.
How is it serving me?
Yeah.
Right? Why do I have physical dis-ease? Because as soon as you start to tell people that your body actually wants to be in perfect health, literally all the time, it knows how to be. Every 7 years, every cell, tissue, and organ in your body is completely new. There's absolutely no reason why you continue dis-ease, even chronic dis-ease, unless it is serving you.
It's true. It's very, very true. And I know I was raised in an environment where I was always exposed to it. So energy work was always something that I was exposed to. Going in that Western route wasn't really the first thing. So even just when I was going through different life events, this was the first thing that I actually did turn to. And even when my grandma did pass away, the first thing I did was like, I need to book a session with Emily. I don't think I even got home from picking my mom up from the hospital. First thing I did, booked a session. I'm like, okay, just because of I know how hearing and going through a traumatic experience can affect you subconsciously. I was like, I don't want to be in that mindset. I don't want to have to feel triggered or be triggered of something that happened in the past. So on a soul level, let's continue to heal. We're in this great phase. Let's keep going. And I didn't want to have all of those limiting beliefs come up. So you keep bringing up different limiting beliefs. What are some of the most common limiting beliefs?
So the 3 core ones that I always find, and we always come usually back to one of these 3, is I am unlovable, I am alone, and I am not good enough / unworthy. And I actually have a quiz that has you identify this too, because once you can have that core belief, now you will know that every time you do this digging work on yourself of, okay, why did this person piss me off? Let's dig. Okay, it's unlovable, right? Then it gives you that clear place to start. You don't want to start on healing the surface level ones. You want to go to the core. Right? So then you can continue to come back to the energy of, okay, this is what my soul is asking to learn in this lifetime. Right? And it does continue to change. There are times when there's a period where I'll go through the unlovable, and then I'll go through the feelings of being alone, and then I'll go through being unworthy. But it always usually comes down to that when I do the digging process on myself or my clients. So those are the 3 common ones, and the 3 deeply rooted ones that are the foundation of where we want to start our healing. And then a couple other common ones are, I have to work hard for money. This is a huge one. And in the Conscious Creators Club, we actually did a lot of the reprogramming on these money beliefs. And it's so interesting how many people had this belief of I have to work hard for money. I say it's a matrix belief because we've definitely been programmed with this. Like, you got to work 9 to 5, you got to save, you gotta do more. A couple other ones are, I need to please others to be loved. So again, this people pleasing energy. And we've picked this up from being that good girl or good boy as a kid. and having to do what our parents say, even when, and this is where intuition comes back in, even when our intuition said something's not right here, right? Our parents wouldn't give us that opportunity to express that intuition. They said, nope, you got to go here, right? And we all have this feeling of wanting to be part of a tribe that if anything threatens that, then we're not going to do it. So we please everybody else because we know if everyone else is happy, we're a part of the tribe. And then another really common one is about feeling like our voice isn't important. And this was a super interesting one that,
like that.
Yeah. So this may have come up from, again, childhood, where our parents didn't listen to what we had to say, didn't want to hear us, and didn't believe us. This is a huge one. And I've seen this in a lot of people who come to me with experiencing sexual abuse as a kid. Their parents didn't believe them when they went to them. So
I could definitely see how that could relate.
So now their voice isn't important. So they stay quiet, they reserve themselves, they don't express themselves fully. And again, the body is going to manifest that in ways that you're probably not going to like.
It's true. It's very, very true. So once you have reprogrammed your own belief system, how do you start to become magnetic to your new reality or your desires?
So we're going to go back to the chakras again. So whenever we are wanting to create our new life, it's very interesting because I say start from the bottom up. So subconsciously, we start from the bottom up. Consciously, we want to start from the crown down. So the reason why I say this is that, okay, so we do the subconscious work by changing the beliefs. That's a crown chakra, right? We start to visualize the reality that we do want. That's a third eye. And these are all different ways to become magnetic.
Yes.
We speak only what we want in our reality. And this is probably one of the hardest things. And I hear it happen all the time. This is how we dip unconscious, right? So we'll start to say like, oh, I'm really tired today. Do you want to be tired? Don't say it. Right? I always say that I never say that I am sick. And sometimes when I'm texting my clients or my friends and I'm trying to tell them I have to cancel plans and they ask me why, I'm like, oh my God, how do I phrase this in order to manifest the reality I want? But the more you realize how powerful your voice is, because every single thing that you speak, you are creating. So are you putting spells on yourself or curses? Right? And in theta healing, there's a theta healing challenge where for 30 days, you don't say certain things. You don't do certain things because, again, it's called a new life experiment because it literally creates a new life. Right. And so then we come to our heart and we need to be in rhythm. We need to understand that we're going to go through highs and we're going to go through lows. The more that we can keep our heart open, the more we balance that rhythm. The more balanced our rhythm is, the more we are in flow with the reality we want. Then again, the solar plexus is a taking action. So now that you've started to do the reprogramming, you see your new life, you're speaking about it, you feel in alignment with it. Now, what is your soul asking you to do to take those conscious and, I guess, divinely guided actions to create that new life, right? It may be go reach out to this person, hop on a podcast episode.
Exactly.
Right. And so it's in allowing yourself to take that action. And then when you take that action, it's now activating the sacral chakra of feeling worthy. That, okay, now I'm in this new space. Let's sit in this space. Let's feel worthy about it. Let's open myself up to receive my desires. And then again, the root chakra now coming in to ground all of that new reality into this physical reality.
So now,
sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. So now if someone is in that new mindset, now what happens if they are triggered and they feel as if they've just had a setback?
So I always say there's never any setback because once you are, I guess in the more spiritual world, it's called awake, but I like to call it aware. Once you are aware of your patterns, you can only continue to go forward. Yes, you're going to be triggered. There are times like I was crying last week. I literally cry almost every day because there are times I get triggered and my emotion is to release it, but it's also, so my emotion is to cry, but it's a form of release, right? So every time that you were triggered, it's in choosing to not allow yourself to go down into, as I call the quicksand of your survival self, right? It's in identifying it, releasing it, doing any reprogramming that needs to be done, And I've just recently discovered a new healing modality called the emotion code. And so I've been releasing a lot of trapped emotions every time I feel triggered as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so powerful because the more you can, again, reprogram those beliefs every time they come up, because it's just every time you're triggered, it's just deeper levels for you to heal. That's all it is. Right. But again, we see triggered as a terrible thing. We want to avoid it. And you triggered me. And no, we want to come back to a place of, I actually welcome triggers. You're going to trigger me. Yes, I get to learn more about myself. Oh, I didn't know that. I was actually bothered by the fact that this is actually something that came up recently. My partner, I'm moving in with my partner, and he's like, do we have to bring like your couch? And that automatically triggered me. And I was like, okay, why am I pissed off right now? And it came down to, once I did the digging work, that I don't feel like I have a home, or nothing here is mine.
Yeah.
Right. And so
exactly.
then it came into the feeling alone. And so when I did that work, I said, okay, this is how I feel. Where in my body am I feeling it? Let's go into meditation. Let's send it love. I always go up to Creator and I see, okay, how can I'm just going to pull that belief, download a new one, download some new feelings. And then I walked away and I talked to him and I was fine. Right. So it's not saying that we have to eliminate all triggers, because then that is saying I got to stay in my comfort zone, because triggering mean that you're actually expanding.
Yes.
Testing
that makes so much
that
sense.
boundary. Right.
Exactly.
So I welcome triggers. If I'm going to expand, bring them on.
Bring them
right?
on.
My soul doesn't want to stay small.
No. We want to keep moving forward. We want all those manifestations to come. We got to make room for all the new and the new beginnings.
Exactly. So we got to just change how we see triggers. See them as your soul's way of expanding.
Yes. I love that. So what are some ways we can express and move these emotions out so we can make room for the new?
Okay. So I usually do a 3-step process, and I do this in the alchemy coaching as well, is first you move your body. So when we are feeling those really heavy, dense emotions, what happens is that, again, we're time traveling, we're adding and packing down those layers of all that stagnant energy. So the best way to do it is to move your body, right? Whether it's doing a high intensity workout, whether it is doing some yoga and actually opening up the energy centers. My favorite thing to do is literally shaking my body. It sounds so weird, but you're literally like, it's almost the way I can see it, it's like panning.
Yes.
That's how I see it, right? I've recently discovered ecstatic dancing, and I've been doing a lot more of that. And that feels so good to release anything. So whenever I feel heavy, I just go right into dance. Then I combine, so step 2 and 3 are together, combining high vibrational music and meditation, right? So whenever I say high vibrational music, I really mean frequencies. So whether it's a theta, whether it's any of the solfeggio frequencies, and you can find this all on YouTube. So they're not like exclusive anywhere. It's such a common thing now, and I love it. And I'll go into that theta brainwave state and start doing this introspection or reflection, or in theta healing, the digging work and the reprogramming, in order to identify, well, why was I feeling this way? Right? Because again, when we start to ask ourselves why, then we can find the answers. When we start to say, I don't like this, or I don't want to be here anymore, then we're entertaining the problem, right? So it's in changing it to find a solution. I don't like the way I feel. Let's find a new way that I can live.
It's so true that we get out of this lack mindset in order to become our best selves. And we have to, because we're going to, again, stay in that mindset of, I can't think of the word.
The quicksand of our survival.
Exactly. And staying in that survival self and allowing or keeping our heart space and all of our other chakras closed, when we're not going to be able to experience the beauty of life and all of our own desires. This was, oh my gosh, you are just filled with so much knowledge. And I love speaking with you, because I just always feel so much more enlightened and inspired. And so with that being said, please plug yourself. How can this audience get in contact with you?
So you can find me on a lot of social media platforms at Theta with Emily. So THETA with Emily. You can take and I highly suggest you take the limiting beliefs quiz to figure out and start your journey to finding out what your limiting belief is and changing that. And then, yeah, I love talking about all this stuff, reprogramming, subconscious mind. So just send me a message anywhere and yeah, let's talk about it.
Absolutely. And before we head off, I have two last questions. If you remember from last time, the first one is, what is the best piece of advice that you would like to share here with us?
I hope I don't repeat myself from last time I came on here.
I think you channeled something. You definitely channeled something.
And something just came through right now too, but again, I don't know if it's going to be the same thing. But it's going to be asking yourself this one question every single time you're triggered, and that is fear or love. I don't know if that was from last time.
No, it wasn't.
No, okay. Such a powerful question that I lived through. It's actually going to be the title of my book that's going to be coming out. And
oh my gosh,
it's so powerful because then once you identify that it's fear, well, then now you know that this is your opportunity to grow, to choose that path of love. So it's helped me a lot in my expansion over the past year. So that is my piece of wisdom. Channeled wisdom.
That is beautiful. Congratulations on your book, first of all. I can't wait. And last question, what is your current essence?
How do I even answer this? What is my current essence? I just got beauty.
Yes, you are beautiful.
Oh, thank you. As I come on here, we talked about it beforehand. I'm like, oh my God, I have no makeup. What, we're doing a video recording?
Join the club.
Beauty came out.
I love that. And you absolutely are. And beauty is not on the outside, it's on the inside.
Yes, I love that.
So thank you so much for joining us once again. It was such a pleasure having you on today's episode.
Thank you so much.
Thank you everyone for listening in on this week's episode here at I Am Essence. Don't forget to listen in next Wednesday on your favorite podcast platform. And if you are listening in on Apple Podcasts, please leave us a review and we will see you next week.